Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday service of Now Creations. It's always a joy to remind you that the most important energy of your life is the God Spirit at the very center of your being. There is nothing more important, the most important thing to make use of, and especially, of course, the most important thing to share. May you just enjoy that God Spirit throughout the course of your day today. A few announcements. By now, you should have received your kindness packet in the mail, or hopefully it'll be coming Monday or Tuesday. April being Kindness Month, I hope that you'll enjoy the book that we've included, but especially each day that you do that daily act of kindness. It's not only important for others to receive it, but it's especially important for you to extend that goodness at the very center of your being. Also, I hope you enjoyed the ad in the newspaper this morning that went out with our email at 7 o'clock. It's just important to see what we're doing in the public. It's very important for us to be able to extend kindness and loving energy into a sometimes gloomy world. Also, if you're able to join us tonight, we'll be happy to have you for What is Light Body from 7 to 8:30. Let's begin. My dear friends, last week's teaching about Walt Disney being an ascended master seems to have struck a resonating chord within many of you. You began to realize, I think, that an ascended master is not simply some angelic being who has come down from the heavens, but quite frankly, an angelic master is simply someone who is living from their God-centeredness at the very base of their soul. And this definition of a sincere soul living from their God-centeredness describes many of you. Many of you are precisely that, sincere souls living from the very core of your Holy Spirit. Perhaps you are surprising even yourself that you have genuinely become a God enthusiast, inasmuch as you are living more and more this way from the center of your God Spirit. As you have raised the quality of your life through a dedication to the God Spirit, you also realize that many people have not done so. And in this awareness, you realize that there's a pathway forward for yourself, that you might continue to be a guiding light to so many people in an often very difficult and gloomy world. Being such a light to others, not in a preachy or judgmental way, but is truly a light that illumines 21st century living, is the basis of today's subject matter. What I'd like to do in today's subject matter is to talk about a new virus. Well, really an old virus, but a virus that has many people in their grip. And then to address the antidote to that virus, and especially ask that each one of you, as you become the antidote, also arise in your ascending mastery. Today's teaching is entitled The Antidote. The Antidote. Let's begin with a new virus that truly affects so many people. In the spring of 2020, the COVID virus was literally an international crisis. We all remember that. And even though the memory is somewhat fading, we all recall those situations where we wore our masks, washed our hands, and isolated ourselves whenever we had to. While these precautions eventually assisted in moving us through the COVID virus, we also clearly understand that there is a new virus that has a grip on many, many people. Actually, this new virus has been around for a long, long time, but it's only recently that many of us have noticed the grip, perhaps even upon ourselves, that it has upon many. The virus that I am talking about is not a virus, is not a virus that you need to see your doctor for or would send you to the hospital, but rather it is much more insidious and much more penetrating than simply a physical virus. The virus that I am describing is a virus of the mind, a mental virus that has been and still is highly contagious for the vast amount of people today. And the worst part about this virus, this mental virus, is that so many people don't even know that they are infected. And at best, they simply live a rather substandard existence, so far below where they could be. Let me explain. In a nutshell, this mental virus has the numbing effect. It has the numbing effect of keeping us limited to our personality zones. You know many of these numbing effects that at one time perhaps maybe you thought were perfectly normal. And it's still the way that so many people live. Some of these effects could be summed up in terms like fear, worry, me first, self-centeredness, moral righteousness, judgment, criticism. Extreme cases of this mental virus resulted in not only emotional and physical bullying, but mental bullying, as well as the physical and the emotional bullying, with a strong desire to control and to manipulate. Whining and complaining were easily justified by this mental virus in words such as, well, I don't blame you for feeling the way you do. How many times perhaps you've said that to another or had it said to you? This used to be you. The sad thing, however, is still that it is the way of many of our family and friends. There is this mental virus that still has a grip upon them. Let's examine it a little more closely. What seems to be clearly occurring is that so many people have not awakened from the grip of the material world and of their physical bodies. That's the essence of this mental virus, the grip of the material world in our own physical well-being. So many people take their worth from the sense of self that they navigate with in the material world. Whether this material world navigation takes the form of relationships or money or possessions or standard of living. In the words of Walt Whitman, the world is too much with us. The world, what's out there, just has taken over for most people. It's a mental virus. People that have this mental virus are kind of like sleepwalkers. They're unconscious as they walk through the world, thinking that such a way is normal because it's so prevalent. Such a life is like going through the world without a moral compass. And of course, if you try to tell someone that they're being led by simply external values and that they are more like robots reacting to the material world, of course they're going to say, what do you mean? They'll violently disagree, saying, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. And that's the problem. They're doing exactly what they want to do with the mental virus of the grip of the material world. Now we're getting to the root of the issue. Indeed, many people are simply caught, just as you used to be. But here's the real problem. I'm going to say it 3 times. So many people who are still caught don't seem to know that they have a mind that can change. So many people who are still caught in the grip of the world don't even know that they have a mind that can be changed. So many people caught in this mental virus don't understand that they have a mind that they can change. This is where you have become different. You were open. You were open to the fact that you had a mind that could change. And you did. You did change your mind. Something within you told you that you had to change your mind about your sense of self, about your identity, that you were much more than simply that limited human personality self, and that indirectly at first, and then more so later on, you began to understand that there was a new internal vista that you were ready to explore. I give you a lot of credit. I give you a lot of credit because you have changed generational patterns of living. Generational patterns of living. This is such an enormous understanding for us to have. We have changed the way we see things in life. And not only have you changed your own personal generational patterns, but you have brought this awareness to your other family and friends, but also to humanity on the whole. You have changed generational patterns of having seen yourself simply limited by the world to understanding that there's another way. You have become the antidote. You have become the antidote to the ways of the world. You have become the antidote to the mental virus that still has a grip on so many. You have changed your mind about who you are. Again, so many people don't even know that they have a mind that could be changed. The simple point is easily made here. Oftentimes, people make reference to a woman having a change of life or a man having a midlife crisis. And while these occurrences are very real for men and women as they age in life, it's quite important to note. It's quite important to note that it's one thing to have a change in your outer journey, but it's quite another to have a change in your inner journey. You have made not just a change in the outer journey, you have made a change in your inner journey. You have not just changed externally, but now you are mastering. You are mastering the external changes through your internal spiritual awareness. Please do not underestimate what you are doing in life. You are making a real change in life. You have changed the master plan of who you are. You no longer want to live the way you used to, not because it was bad or terrible, but because it no longer suits you. You don't have that mental virus anymore. You have outgrown your past and the world. You have become the antidote to that mental virus that still imprisons the majority of humanity. And you are not just dropping physical density, but the real density that you're dropping is the mental density and the emotional density that so many other people still are in the grip of. You are much less a physical body in a material world, and you're now becoming a spiritual being. You're now becoming a spiritual being, and not just bringing that spiritual energy into your mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies, but also bringing that energy as a light into the material world. As you have released from the grip of the world, you are bringing light to the world. It is clear that your spiritual antidote to the mental virus of the mind is changing not only your thoughts, not only your emotions, but this generation is also changing your physical body. It's changing the chemical makeup of your body. You simply feel better. You simply feel better more of the time. You want to live. You want to live in this energy of being a fully conscious child of God. Not because, well, that's probably the best way to live, but because it lights you up. It gives you joy. It gives you that happiness. And even when no one else is watching, even when you're not trying to impress someone else, you want to live. You want to live as a devoted child of God. You are becoming the ascended master you've always wanted to be. So, what made you change? What made you change? But may I suggest to you that there was something within you that was so very, very important that it made you want to change the master plan of your life. And it is precisely this point of why you changed that I want to address. What really made you get over the grip of the mental virus of the material world? I will begin with a quote from a wonderful spiritual master, Rudolf Steiner, who lived from 1861 to 1925, and then proceed to 3 progressive steps that I think are the foundation of our transformation. You be the judge as to how effective they might be describing you. First, the quote from Rudolf Steiner. As many of you know, I have been doing extensive reading in the thought system of Rudolf Steiner. What continues to impress me are the strength and power of his spiritual foundational principles, and yet the very practical way that he applies them. This is the quote. And notice not only the strength of the spiritual principle, but the practical application of it. The spiritual student must become as conscious of the soul and spirit as the ordinary person is of his or her body. I'll say it again. The spiritual student must become as conscious of their soul and spirit as the ordinary person is of his or her body. One more time. The spiritual student must become as conscious of their soul and spirit as the ordinary person is of their physical body. This is precisely what you have done. In your spirituality, you have not retreated to some ivory tower that has little relevancy to the everyday world. You have not moved into some kind of Pollyanna fantasy that simply speaks to a few elitists. Rather, you have brought your spirituality into the concrete, everyday world. And in doing so, you're not just meeting the challenges of everyday living, but in fact, you are raising the energy of the everyday into the spiritual consciousness of ushering in the kingdom of God. You're doing this, are you not? Again, this is why Kindness Month is so important for us. We are doing things that usher in the kingdom of God, happily, for everyone involved. So may I suggest, you are doing so in these 3 progressive steps. The first one has taken a long time in coming because, well, there was a time when you were sick with the mental virus. At one time, you too judged your life by your external achievements, relationships, profession, possessions, money, of how well you were doing in the world. And while this eventual change occurred in different ways for each one of us eventually came to this understanding, I believe. There's got to be more to life than what the world has to offer. Somewhere along the way, each one of us came to this conclusion. There's got to be something more than just that. After a period of time, one sees that even in the best of lives, that many people are simply going in circles. Sometimes they are going in circles faster and faster, but they're still going in circles faster and faster. The hamster wheel has simply increased velocity. The analogy of the rocking horse comes to my mind. People confuse rocking back and forth as progress, but the horse itself isn't moving. The horse doesn't move. You were like this at one time. You too confused activity and busyness as progress, while in truth, you were still going in circles. Remember? You have had enough of this. You know that there is something else that's so much more important. And with the experience of a lot of our spiritual friends, with their assistance and their help, we have begun a different journey. Thank God to our spiritual friends with whom we are growing. The second progressive step. It was one thing to know, to feel that something was missing from your life, that there was kind of this more of a gnawing sense of dissatisfaction that was even deeper within you. something was wrong. But it was clearly another thing to know what exactly was missing. And then the big change occurred in two ways. First, an enormous change. You stopped looking outside of yourself for spiritual satisfaction. This was such an important step because it prompted you to stop looking outside and to start looking at another place. Rather than keep on looking on the outside for what was never going to satisfy you, you finally got the message, I need to look not there anymore, more mental virus, that I began to look internally. And while this internal search, it was different for each one of us. It all boiled down, I think, to one thing, especially the teaching of Jesus from A Course in Miracles, when he said, teach only love, for that is what you are. Amid all of the hoopla of what was going on outside of you, just this message, teach only love, for that is what you are. These words not only cleared the mental fog in your mind, these words, teach only love, for that is what you are, not only cleared the mental fog in your mind, but it lit the fire. It lit the fire, the blaze within you, which you exactly were looking for. It filled not just your mind, but also your heart and your entire being. See, this is what Steiner meant when he said that the spiritual student must become as conscious of his soul and spirit as the ordinary person is of his or her body. You have done this. You have become the antidote to the mental virus and are now proceeding with tremendous joy in your heart. There's the third step. This is even more inspirational, I think. The third step that is now moving you to spiritual expansion. See if it fits you. I bet it will. This third step has its basis in the fourth beatitude of Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount in these words, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they will be satisfied. You know those words, you've heard them many times. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they will be satisfied. But let's apply it to the 21st century. It is the first part of the beatitude that I think becomes extremely important. See, I believe that you have begun to hunger and thirst for your spiritual growth. I see it in so many of you. You want to be in the energy of spiritual growth. You come to our programs happily, joyfully. More and more of you are entering into that joy of the internal spirit. This is a new experience for many of you. Not being so saturated with the external world with that old mental virus, but rather growing in spiritual awareness and having a burning desire to do so. For many of you, you have now become devoted to your soul spirit, just as so many other people still continue to be in the grip of their body in the material world. You have become a devotee of the God Spirit. In fact, the truth is that more and more of you are happily surrendering to the guidance of the Holy Spirit within you. You honestly feel that you are what God is doing. You sincerely understand that you are a modern-day Christ. You have become an ascended master in the ascension of consciousness right here in your physical body. Your spiritual hunger has been fed, and your spiritual thirst has been slaked. You have not just changed your mind, you have changed your sense of self. You have become the spiritual master that is showing forth the way for our species of humanity. Please understand that you are the vanguard of humanity, and that all humanity will someday break that grip of the world and be a wonderful light, bringing its essence to raise the quality of the material plane. In conclusion, it's truly a joy to see the progress that all of us are making, getting beyond that mental virus that just so encapsulated our minds. It's not for us anymore, but rather to be able to enter into a way of living that is evolving from the throes of the past, into the possibilities of the future. It is exciting, and you should be excited. You are achieving a spiritual mastery within yourself, which you've always been looking for. And you have become not only an antidote for the past, but especially the terrific hope for the future. You are the new spiritual species that is arising on the planet. And you are arising now. Let me now take you into meditation, and what a joy it is to do so. We all had the virus. We all had the virus. A rocking horse. Rocking faster and faster and faster and faster. Going nowhere, fast. There had to be more. There just had to be more than what we were discovering. teach only love, for that is what you are. You lifted that page from the book, A Course in Miracles, and you wrote it in your heart. I know that I am the love of God in human form. Every once in a while, that mental virus wants to come back. Look at this, look at that. Wow, amazing. And while you appreciate everything in the world, you no longer get confused. You no longer get confused between what is a temporary form and a permanent love that is in your sacred heart. Did you feel? Did you feel that those words of Rudolf Steiner were really kind of addressed to you? That you, as a spiritual student, must be as concerned about your soul and your spirit as an ordinary person is with their physical body. Oh, there was a time when the physical body took precedence. How many times you stood in front of the mirror and took a look at it and fed it and rested it and did all the things you do with a physical body? Nothing wrong with that, except when it becomes a virus. Except when it becomes a virus. And then probably even you were surprised. Even you were surprised that you began to hunger and thirst for spiritual growth. This is new. And perhaps the newness about it is the frequency with which you desire it. You hunger and thirst for it every day. There is not a day that goes by when you do not hunger and thirst to be in this energy. Look at where you are from where you have been. Perhaps you too are surprised at how much you hunger and thirst for the spiritual light. Steiner's words are true. You have begun to be more and more desirous of the growth of your soul spirit, as ordinary people seem to be of their physical bodies and the material world. Bravo. Bravo for you. In this month of April coming up, Kindness Month, will be a wonderful opportunity for you to even be more focused, certainly on the light within, but also the light that you're able to extend. Would you just notice how good you feel right at this moment? How filled and whole you feel right at this moment? And with this energy lighting your way today and tomorrow and the next day, with this energy just lighting your way, let me invite you back to your breath. Just nice, easy breathing. And just notice how the breath feels lighter, better, happier. You're no longer caught in the old mental virus. But rather coming forth as the light of the world. And with that, let me invite you to gently breathe your eyes open. Happy, and knowing who you are. So many people still don't even know they have a mind that can be changed. Not only have you come to know that you have done so. And thus you understand that I am an eternal being of light and love. Thus, only good can come to me, and only good can come from me. And we are eternal beings of light and love. Thus, only good can come to us. Only good can come from us. Namaste.